everybody. So I'm here to talk with you about trees, and we have a lot of different ways of learning about trees. Some of these are really scientific. You can see it has how the tree grows and what the bark looks like, the skin of the tree, different shapes of leaves, how it gets its nutrition, how it creates new images of itself. So that's a good book if you want some sciencey things. Here's another good one. Well, they're all good, frankly. But this shows how they grow and how the roots grow and how different animals interact with them. There's birds and bats and squirrels there. Here are some of people who had a close relationship with a tree, who would sit in the forest and think about things under the quiet of that canopy. The boy who grew a forest. You'll probably have had some experience with Crinkleroot. He's a character who does all kinds of nature things. And in this one, he's talking about walking in the forest and all the things you can find. Here's a maple leaf as opposed to a pine or spruce leaf. So there's a lot of good stuff in there if you want to learn some more. This one is called The Magic and Mystery of Trees by Jen Green. And it has a lot of history, some information about how trees live, the parts of a tree, different types of trees, things that happen after the tree has fallen, and the other creatures that end up taking advantage and getting usefulness out of those trees, tree partners, nutrients, all kinds of things there. This one is about the tallest trees, the redwood trees. Well, not the tallest, actually. The tallest tree is the giant sequoia out in California. And the smallest of trees is just a few millimeters tall in height, but it's a tree because it has a trunk and it has branches and it has leaves. So that is considered a tree. Here's a nice little book about an apple tree, a little rainbow. So, and there's lots of information and some ideas of how you can explore. Okay, but the book that I'm going to read today to you is called The Tree Lady. All right. Catherine Olivia Sessions grew up in the woods of Northern California. She gathered leaves from oaks and elms. She collected needles from pines and redwoods, and she braided them together with flowers to make necklaces and bracelets. It was the 1860s, and girls from Kate's side of town weren't supposed to get their hands dirty. But Kate did. You can see there she is. Kate listened well in school. She learned how to read and count. She remembered the poems and stories that she read, but best of all, she liked studying wind and rain and mussels and bones and plants and trees, especially trees. Most girls were discouraged from studying science, but not Kate. And you can see here's her classmates, all boys, all boys, all boys, except for Kate right there. Kate felt the trees were her friends. She loved the way they reached towards the sky and how their branches stretched wide to catch the light. Trees seemed to Kate like giant umbrellas that sheltered her and the animals, birds and plants that lived in the forest. Not everyone felt at home in the forest, but Kate did. When Kate grew up, she left home to study science at college. She looked at soil and insects through a microscope. She learned how plants made food and how they drank water, and she studied trees from all around the world. And as you can see, again, a lot of boys, and Kate was the only girl. No woman had ever graduated from the University of California with a degree in science, but in 1881, Kate did. After graduation, Kate took a job in Southern California where her boat docked in San Diego. She saw that her new town was a desert town. Kate never thought she would live in a place with so few trees, but now she did. With Kate's love for the woods, she thought San Diego needed trees more than anything else, so she left teaching to become a gardener. She knew she must plant trees that could live in dry soil with lots and lots of sunshine. Her friends worried Kate wouldn't find trees like that, but she did. So here are some of the trees. She wrote to people all around and they sent her letters about what plants she should look for, and here are some that she got. A yucca tree, eucalyptus, Aleppo pine, Italian cypress, a palm tree, a naked coral tree. So check those out. Right. Kate became a tree hunter. She wrote letters to gardeners all over the world. She also traveled into Mexico to look for trees that liked hot, dry weather and steep hills and canyons. Not everyone knows how to hunt for trees, but Kate did. Soon, Kate's trees were planted along streets, around schools, and in small plazas and parks all over town. People bought trees from Kate's nursery and planted them in their own yards. From elms and oaks to eucalyptuses and palms, by the turn of the century, young trees from Kate's nursery were growing in every part of San Diego. Most people didn't think a desert town could sustain so many trees, but Kate did. Then, in 1909, the city leaders announced that a great fair was coming to San Diego in 1915. The fair would be held in City Park. Kate felt the park still needed more trees, thousands more, to look beautiful and to shade the visitors that came to the fair. That was too many trees for Kate to plant by herself, but she knew lots of people could do it together. She asked her friends to bring their friends and come to the park for tree planting parties. Again and again, the people volunteered to help. Those volunteers weren't sure they could plant enough trees, but before long, they did. When the fair opened, San Diego was ready. Millions of trees and plants filled Balboa Park. The fair had so many visitors, it stayed open for 2 years instead of 1. People came from near and far to see the attractions and stroll in the cool shade by all those trees. The fairgoers couldn't believe San Diego had such magnificent gardens. But thanks to Kate, they did. All right, thank you for listening. Did I talk about this yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so how do I wrap up, Rachel? Say, oh, look at the tree walk. That's what I'm going to say. Okay. Okay, so one of the adventures I've had recently is walking around a park called Fern Hollow Nature Center and recording the trees that have been planted all along that path. So I hope you get to watch that and enjoy it. And if you do, you can go over and take that same tree walk yourselves. Okay, till next time. Bye-bye.
Okay, so here's the first tree on our list. You can see it goes up and up and up and up and up. And there's the Nature Center right behind. So we're going to move along down to the next tree on our list. Okay, here's our second tree. It's standing right next to the huge hemlock. And this is called a dogwood tree. And we're going to get a little closer. I'm going to show you the flowers have already come, but now there are these these little clusters. Let's see if I can zoom in on one. Let's see, there we go. Into little, like berry-looking things. Yeah, so that's going to be the start of the buds for next year. Okay, so here's another tree in this grouping. And it also looks like an evergreen. It has very fine needles. We're going to find out what this one is. Let's see. Okay, so this is the eastern hemlock tree, a native evergreen. It reaches ages in excess of 800 years. Wow, that's amazing. So there's some illustrations, the cones that it makes, and the kind of leaf that it has. I'm going to give you a close-up look too of that leaf. There we go. All right, moving on down the hill, down this way. Okay, now here's another big tree. You can see all the way up to the top there. It has a big leaf, a wide leaf. Kind of makes me think of something tropical. So let's see what we can learn about this tree. Okay, I'm going to turn this so you can see it. It's the big leaf magnolia. And that's a really neat view of the flowers, what it looks like when it blooms. The leaves are the largest deciduous leaf outside the tropics. All right, so that's a cool one. Let's keep moving on down the road. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but that says, "Be careful, honeybee flight path." And that's because they're not out too much right now. I see a few buzzing around. But this is an area with lots of plants that the honeybees just love to pieces. And so you have to be careful around this area. Don't thrash around too much. Don't run through things unless you want a bee to follow you and sting you. Okay, so here's a nice little clump of trees. As you can see, we're very close to the roads. You're going to hear some road noise. But then on the other side, it's wild and natural. So let's go up to this guy. Kind of shadowy light here. But let's see if we can find out what it is. Hold on. The American chestnut tree. Wow, that's a special find. Because these trees at one point were seeming that they were going to go extinct. So here you go, check it out. American chestnut tree. Pretty cool leaves, huh? Here we go. All right, so I'm getting another glance of this American chestnut leaf. And as I look at these other trees, I'm starting to think that maybe they're all American chestnut trees. What do you think? Do they look the same to you? I'll have to come out and see. All right, and here's a big part of expanse that has tons and tons. If you can see through the glare of milkweed plants all through here, but mixed in with other plants as well. Okay, let's continue along our tree. Okay, just when we thought we were out of oaks, here's another one. So I still don't see any acorns, but oh, look at this. There's a little, let's see if I can show it to you. Right here, right above my thumb, There's a little acorn forming there. Oh, it has a long way to go, doesn't it? Okay. So this tree has a bird up in it. I don't know if you can hear it cheeping. But if a bird doesn't fly away when you come to its tree, chances are it has a baby. So we're going to be really quick here so that Mama doesn't get too worried. Okay, this is a pin oak tree. Pin oak is the fastest growing native deciduous tree. It occurs primarily on bottom land sites that usually flood intermittently during the dormant season, but not during the growing season. Okay. All right. And here we have a long path before we find another tree. So I'm going to turn you off for a minute while I tromp through the trail. Okay, now here's a tree that's tall and skinny. And it has a very noisy friend up on the top. Can you see that guy up there? I think it's a red-winged blackbird. Yeah, I see some red up there on his wing, and I think he's saying to all the other birds, look out, humans are coming. Okay, so let's see what kind of tree this bird is on that's protecting so well. Huh. Let us see what it says here. Chinkapin oak, sometimes confused with the chestnut oak. A reliable means of distinguishing the two is by the bark. Chinquapin bark has a gray, flaky bark, similar to white oak, but with more yellow-brown. Yeah, well, I hope you all get to come and see. Boy, we're getting down to the bottom of the hill, and it just looks like a great big sea of plants, right? Okay, and here's the tree that we're headed for right now. Okay, this one's number 18 on the tree list, and if we can zoom in, not so much. There's a little bird right up there, and it's just chirping away, trying to get us to go somewhere else. Okay, so maybe it has a nest that it's protecting as well. We're just going to go down and see what kind of a tree this is. Okay, here we go. Let's see. The black gum tree, sometimes called black tupelo, can be found on a variety of sites, but usually likes moist locations, like found around the edge of swamps. Okay, and there's all the details of the black gum tree. Okay, now we're going to start heading back up the hill this way, and I see a tree not too far. Let's go. Okay, this is a different kind of a look. It has red stems and a little bit of red on the body, and here's a view of it. It's pretty tall, but it also seems like maybe it's lost a bunch of leaves. So let's look and see what this tree story is. American smoke tree, and oh my goodness, look, another spider. Okay, we'll read about that later. All right, now we're going to go back down the hill and continue along that way. See you in a minute. Well, friends, these two trees are supposed to be pawpaw trees, but doesn't look like anything's happening with them. We'll have to wait and see what happens later in the season. Okay, but meanwhile, we're going to go down by the road where there are 3 very healthy trees. Well, here's a nice healthy looking tree. It sounds like it has some friendly animals inside. So let's, I'm going to have to duck under the overhanging branches here, and let's see what we have. Swamp white oak. Wow, who knew there were so many kinds of oak, huh? Medium-sized tree found in lowlands along the edges of streams and in swamps. Okay. Let's see what the next tree has to say. And you can see the leaves here look pretty familiar. And we're heading down the hill a little bit. And this is kind of a different shape of leaf. Has that cool red stem. And separate leaves. Also ducking under to get down to the nitty-gritty. Ooh, and I like the trunk. Isn't that wild? Yeah, so let's see. Musclewood, also known as American hornbeam. Poorly formed tree with a twisted, fluted trunk. But it makes it really cool, doesn't it? All right. We have another tree. I guess this tree isn't really on the trail. I don't see a marker for it, and there's no path carved out. But wow, that's quite the magnificent tree. When I get closer, well, I'll see if I can get closer, and we'll let you know what it is. Okay, so this isn't a tree, but I think it's pretty cool. Can you see what's right in the middle of that middle plant? Being still as still can be. Alrighty. And there are lots of these plants opening up now in this cool habitat.